Hey, how's it going? Delrith here, bringing you another rapid fire review, this time for the game Journey to the Savage Planet. JTTSP was developed by Typhoon Studios and published by 505 Games for the PS4, Xbox One, and PC. To summarize what the game is, for anyone who is unaware of it, which is probably a good number of people, as even I wasn't aware of its existence until the day I was told to play it. It's an alien world exploration game with a cheery disposition that doesn't take itself at all too seriously, in the slightest actually, and is meant to be seen as a linear play once and done tale. Throughout your play, you'll be scanning various life forms, piecing together a few puzzles, interacting with, and of course murdering the local fauna, and just generally taking in the views and spectacles that the game has to offer. What happens if I stick the birds to the floor? Graphically, Savage Planet isn't half bad. It takes the whole vibrant and lush alien world theme and just runs rampant with it, with every biome being diversely unique and featuring its own theme. You got your snowy mountainous area with ice and glaciers, your verdant and lush rainforest with a multitude of different tropical alien plants, and even a bunch of floaty rock waterfall biomes with their own assortment of creatures. Each one is entirely visually pleasing in its own right and definitely promotes exploration, so big props to them on that. None of the areas really felt samey or too repetitive to go through, and nothing was visibly copy-pasted, and all of the locations were quite obviously put together by hand, which is something that we've not seen a lot in these sorts of games, and it was something I appreciated. There's of course a lot of alien life on the planet you're exploring as well, with a decent amount of variety, but I will say straight up that after the first 2 hours, you've pretty much seen everything. Primary bird-like enemies are pretty much rinse and repeated through the campaign, with each area only having a slightly different variant of their own to boast.
Eat it! I like these things. Eat another one.
Great. You'll have a couple of unique things tossed in every now and then for you to fight, but it's really nothing to brag about. And I would definitely say that the creature department of Savage Planet could have been better than it is. Now, don't get me wrong. I appreciate the little bird dudes and their wonky antics that they showcase and go through, but they are truly just reskins with different hats, as you will. And after about 5 hours of it, I was bored with seeing them everywhere I went. A great game to compare Savage Planet to would be Subnautica, as both pretty much try to accomplish the same thing, with Subnautica being the thing to live up to. Subnautica has dozens of different life forms to encounter and things to be truly terrified of, and with each biome featuring its own unique creatures. It's really not the case in Savage Planet, and I was a little disappointed. There's 2 bosses, as I recall, and they're decent, but nothing really mind-blowing or spectacular. And their difficulty is non-threatening and pretty much would still be beatable if you taped your arms behind your back and used your tongue to control a game stick. Got him.
Die, giant crab beast.
As far as voice acting and actual characters in the game, the main character doesn't really say jack shit, but the commercials and the man you work for are absolutely fantastic and entirely hilarious. I have to say the single best part of the game was all the in-between dialogue and conversations that take place on your lander whenever you go back, with the videos themselves that you see really setting the theme of the universe and the corporation you're working for.
What a waste! Or even worse, the toilet? Disgusting! Put a smile on your face using your meat waste with Meat Buddy, the reconstituted cuddly companion from Slimo.
Oh, this
Just
is a
take your
great commercial.
animal-based waste products, rotten flesh, and laboratory-grown proteins and simply toss in the hopper. Choose the number and type of appendages, and in just 4 short chips, your new best friend will emerge, ready to cuddle. Meat Buddy, the snuggly playmate from...
Your boss is a complete nut job and obviously making you explore for all the wrong reasons, like pure greed, without any care in the world for if you live or die. The dialogue also sets you up as a super expendable, underpaid intern with no aspirations. And I found the way you sort of rise through the ranks rather quaint. I think the word is quaint. Anyway, combat in Savage Planet is very basic and consists of you shooting everything for the most part with the same pistol the entire way through, with literally no other primary equipment coming into play at any point. It does get a good number of upgrades, and I'll talk more about those in a moment. It makes it do more damage, reload faster, fire more bullets, and have some pretty sweet charge attacks. But aside from that, it's entirely lackluster. What can I craft? Improved damage. Dick.
Upgrade synthesized.
Apologize for the one-sided nature of this mess.
It does its job, given the fact that the enemies are mostly non-threatening anyway, and I can understand why it's the way it is, but again, they could have gone so much further and better, but chose not to. I mean, they could have had goo guns, shrink rays, spring cannons, anything in that vein or genre would have fit perfectly, and I just struggle to understand why they didn't run wild. As far as utilities go, you'll get a good number of different pods and grenades and other gadgets to toss around and utilize to solve various puzzles. You know, things such as bounce pad grenades that, you know, form sponges on that you can launch off of, a goo bomb that sticks to enemies, and a grapple seed thing that lets you parkour around in specific areas like Spider-Man, you know, so on and so forth. They all serve their purpose and are a good amount of fun at face value, but again, nothing super spectacular, and I feel like the upgrades didn't really support them. The only real upgrades for those pods is just an increased area and more effectiveness, with no unique upgrades being unlocked later on for the base gadgets and just generally leaving you wanting more. Suit upgrades do generic things as well, such as double jump, triple jump, momentum maintaining, better scanning, just simple and basic things. And they're useful, don't get me wrong, but there's nothing along the lines such as phasing or teleporting or powers they could have gone for, given the fact that you're utilizing alien life and tech on a planet in a wonky future scenario. I guess I'll mention that there's a ton of collectibles on the planet, with most of them being lore-based, but the main goo piles, those collectibles, they serve the point of getting you more stamina and health, and there's a lot of those, so I was always stumbling across them as I explored around. I did appreciate finding all the secret locations and learning about an alien explorer in the same situation as I was in a long time ago, and so that was nifty, but collecting the same things quickly gets old, especially when you stop gaining health. Huh? I'm sucking some goo right now, hold up. I did it!
Okay, so even more good news. Those tumors that improved your stamina and replaced your bones, they've spread to the musculature of your lower body, which gives you rock-hard glutes.
I believe there were 100 goo piles to collect hidden all over the place, and they just stopped giving you upgrades, I believe, at 50 out of 100, so you just completely lose the motivation, especially when you consider the fact that they're not necessary to get the best ending of the game. Scientific experiments are also something the game encourages you to do, something you need to complete all of to get the best ending. These are little side quests and objectives that consist of things like kill 5 electrified enemies at once, and they're a bit of fun to do, although you can hammer through them at a brisk pace. I think I dedicated an entire hour, and that's generous, into doing all of them, and it was honestly probably more like 45 minutes in total. There's also co-op for all of this, like the entire game, but you know, every game you ever play with a friend will be more fun, and it doesn't really add any new dynamics, which sucks, and it just allows you to spend another chunk of change with absolutely no replayability on the same exact experience, so take that as you will. I guess that leads into my biggest gripe about the game. It's just really short. I mean, extremely short for what you pay for, and there's almost no replayability. I've said that already, but I gotta hammer that point. You're never gonna play it again. I believe in total I played 8 hours, and that was with a completionist mindset, and I'm pretty damn certain I saw all that there was to see. If you were just casually playing through and goofing off without a care in the world about finding everything, I could see the game taking less than 6 hours, and that leaves a lot to be desired. Couple that with the fact that everything except the comedy itself and the intermission moments are average effort to slightly above average at most, and I just guess I thought it wasn't really an entirely satisfying experience, which again is another bummer. To me, this game is a lot of wasted potential, and if they had just spent more time to make it longer or had a bigger budget to make it work, it could have been so much more. I wanted another Subnautica sort of game where I could spend hours upon hours exploring and still keep finding new stuff, But Savage Planet isn't Journey to the Savage Planet isn't really that, and that's no good. So in the end, I'm going to have to give it a final score of 6 out of 10. The comedy alone pulls it up from a super average score and keeps it from going any lower, and it's just too short for what you pay for to be considered anything else, and honestly, I already feel like I'm being generous by giving it a 6. I get what they were going for with the game. I understand what they were trying to do, but it falls short. And maybe if there's a sequel, I'll check it out and see if it ends up any better. But for now, I would say hold off on purchasing it until there's a decent sale and it drops down below $20. It's just not worth what they ask for right now, which I believe is $30. Anyway, that's going to be it for this rapid fire review. If you liked it, do me a solid and hit that like button and subscribe. And if you're already subscribed, ring the bell to get notifications on new videos we put up in the future. And oh yeah, and if you like the rapid fire reviews or would like to see when I'm doing them live on Twitch, you can head over to my Twitter at AJSA Delrith and give me a follow. I'd appreciate it. Until the next video, this is Delrith, and I'll be seeing ya.